Hey guys, welcome back. So today's objective is I can graph vertical and horizontal linear inequalities. Now to help us get a better understanding on how to do that, we're going to do something that we did from Unit 1, which is solve regular inequalities and graphing them on a number line. So for number 1, this is a two-step inequality. All right, I want to ask you, since it's a two-step inequality, what is the first step to getting x by itself? All right, so the first step to getting x by itself is adding 3 to both sides. That's going to allow you to cancel the 3's on the right side, and that gives us 12 is less than or equal to 2x. What is the next step? All right, the next step is for us to divide both sides by 2. That's going to give us the inequality 6 is less than or equal to x. The fact that it's a less than or equal to symbol tells you that it's going to be either an open circle or a closed circle. Can you tell me which one it is? All right, so it is going to be a closed circle, and this closed circle is going to be at 6. So we're going to go ahead and put that. And then we have to give a test point, and for this test point, we got to figure out what number to put in here. So if I put negative 100, that doesn't work because 6 is not less than negative 100. So now I'm going to do positive 100, and then I'm going to see that 6 is less than positive 100. Since 100 is on this side, that means I'm going to shade this way. You got to shade this, and this is what it would look like. All right. Now for number 2, again, it's a two-step inequality. We got to get x by itself. The first step is to subtract 5 from both sides. Very good. So we can subtract 5 from both sides, canceling these out. You get negative 3x is greater than 9. So now what we need to do is to get the x by itself by dividing by negative 3. So when we divide by negative 3, you do have to remember to flip the sign. So this greater than symbol is going to be a less than symbol. And the reason for that is because we divided by a negative. That's going to get me x is less than negative 3. Therefore, I'm going to put negative 3. Is this going to be an open or closed circle? All right, it is an open circle, and we're going to pick a test point. Now, the test point that would work for this one would be negative 100, because negative 100 is less than negative 3. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put negative 100, which is right over here, and then we're going to shade this way. Okay, so that's the way the graph looks like. Okay, let's go to the next part. Now, there's a couple rules that we need to know before we can actually graph this. All right, seeing in the first part, I need you guys to write a less than or a greater than symbol. Notice these do not have or equal to bars. All right, what does it mean to have no or equal to bar? All right, so in a regular inequality, it means that it's going to be an open circle. Now, what we do when we have a linear inequality, which we're going to graph, it's going to be a dashed line, which looks like this. So go ahead and write dashed and draw an example of a dashed line. Now, again, if there's no or equal to bar, it's an open circle. I kind of look at a dashed line as it being an open line. So you can see that there's like opening, and you can go through the opening over here and over here. So that's how I kind of tie them in together. Okay, so the next one do have or equal to bars. So go ahead in this next box put less than or equal to or greater or equal to. All right, normally what does this mean? Okay, so it means that it's a closed circle. All right, and since it's a closed circle, if you were graphing a line, it would be a solid line, meaning that there's no openings in the line, so it's closed. Okay? All right, so now let's go ahead and graph the first one together. We're going to start out by graphing just the line y equals 4. Now, actually, before that, we need to know, is this going to be a dashed line or a solid line? All right, so since there is no equal to bar, this is a dashed line. Now let's go ahead and graph this like we would normally graph it. We make an XY chart, and in this XY chart, that 4 goes in the Y column or the X column. All right, since it's Y, it's going to go into the Y column. In the X column, we're going to put 1, 2, 3. And again, it doesn't matter what you put in the X column. So let's go ahead and graph these points. We have the point 1, 4, 2, 4, and 3, 4. All right, now the reason I told you to write dashed is so that you remember to put a dashed line in here. Because if you made a solid line, then it would be the wrong answer. Finally, we're going to look and see, and we're going to put a test point in here. Now the test point would have to fit in y is greater than 4. So if we put negative 100, all right, negative 100 is not greater than 4. So then if we put 100, 100 is greater than 4. And on this number line that we're looking at the y-axis, 100 is up towards this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to shade that way, okay? So this is what the graph is going to look like. Since y is greater than 4, above the line is where y is greater than 4, okay? All right, for the next one, we have y is less than or equal to negative 3. So first of all, is this a dashed or solid line? Okay, so this is a solid line because of the fact that we have an or equal to bar. All right, so now when we make this XY chart, we're going to put negative 3 in the y's because up here it does say y is less than or equal to negative 3, so the negative 3 is repeated in the y. Again, x can be anything you want. Let's just make it easy and make it 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go ahead and plot these points. Here's 1, negative 3, 2, negative 3, and 3, negative 3. Now we're going to make this a solid line, so you would just normally make a regular line, which is just drawing it without any spaces in between. And then you have to figure out what side to shade. Now this time it says y is less than or equal to negative 2. So are we going to shade the top or the bottom of the graph? All right, we're going to shade the bottom of the graph again because it says y is less than, and this down towards the bottom is where it's going to be less than. And just think about it. Less than, if it's up or down and you say less than, you're going to go down. If it's greater than, you're going to go up. Okay? All right, now number 5, go ahead and write this down. Y is less than 2. I want you guys to tell me if it's a solid or dashed line and go ahead and graph it on your own right now. Go ahead and do that. All right, now for this one, this is a dashed line because there is no or equal to bar. And then for my XY chart, we're going to put 2's in the y's. The x's, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to plot these points now. So there's 1, 2, 2, 2, and 3, 2. And I'm going to put a dashed line, so there's going to be some openings in it. Now this says y is less than 2. So numbers that are less than 2 are going to be going down. So I'm going to shade downwards. Okay? All right, now the next one, we have x is less than or equal to 4. So we're going to start out by figuring out, is this a dashed or solid line? All right, so this is a solid line because it has an or equal to bar. Now for this XY chart, it does say that x is less than or equal to 4. So we're going to put those 4's in the x column. Now we're going to go ahead and plot the points 4, 1, 4, 2, and 4, 3. So here's my 4, 1, here's 4, 2, and here's 4, 3. As you can see, this is a vertical line because it is an x problem. So we're going to go ahead and draw your solid line. This says that x is less than 4. Now, do you think that x being less than 4 is going to be the left of this line or to the right of this line? All right, so it is going to be to the left of the line, so we're going to shade the left of the line. All right, now, for the next one, you have x is greater than 0. All right, now, is this a solid or dashed line? Very good. There is no or equal to bar, so this is a dashed line. Now, when I make this XY chart, we're going to put zeros in for the x's, and then the y's can be anything you want. Now, notice these are all what kind of intercepts? Yes, they are y-intercepts because you see that we have zeros in for the x's. Since the zeros are in for the x's, they're automatically y-intercepts. They're going to be on the y-axis. So the first one is 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. If you connect these dots, you're drawing a dashed line on the y-axis, okay? So now it says x is greater than 0. Are we going to shade to the left or to the right? All right, since its x is greater, the greater side is the right side, so I'm going to shade towards the right. So this is the graph. All right, number 8, we have x is less than negative 2. Go ahead and graph this one on your own. First, you have to identify if it's dashed or solid. Make the number line and graph it. All right, now for this one, we have a dashed line. All right, our XY chart has repeating x's, so it's -2 in for the x's. The y's can be anything you want, so I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to have -2, 1, -2, 2, -2, 3. This is another vertical line, another vertical dashed line to be more specific. And since it says x is less than -2, we're going to go towards the left because left side is less than, okay? Alright guys, now for the word problems. Now number 9 says, Southern Illinois on the graph below can be represented by the inequality y is less than or equal to -1. Shade in the part of Illinois that is part of Southern Illinois. Alright, now to do this, we need to look at this equation, y is less than or equal to -1, and we first have to identify, is this a solid line or a dashed line? And it is a solid line because we do have an or equal to bar there. Now let's go ahead and graph this line by finding out what points that we can plot. Now for this XY chart, we know that the y is always going to repeat and be -1. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick any random numbers for x, which is 1, 2, 3. And let's go ahead and plot these points. So here's 1, -1. Here's 2, -1, and 3, -1. Now we're going to go ahead and draw a solid line because this does have an or equal to bar. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so there's my solid line. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to figure out which side to shade. Because we do have a less than symbol, does that mean to shade above this brown line or below this brown line? Alright, so Southern Illinois is going to be below this line, and when we do color it in, we only actually have to color in Illinois because this is representing Southern Illinois. Now normally you would graph everything like this, but since it's a graph specifically about Illinois, we don't need to do that, just color in the Illinois part. Now let's go ahead and answer these two questions at the bottom. The first question asks, is Danville part of Southern Illinois? So you're going to write yes or no, and then you're going to tell me why. Now, if you don't see where Danville is right over here. So you got to tell me, is that part of Southern Illinois? Why or why not? And explain. Okay, so Danville is not, so we're going to put no. And the reason is because Danville is not in the shaded area. Okay, so he's above that brown line, so he's not in the shaded area, therefore he's not part of Southern Illinois. Now the next one asks you, is East St. Louis part of Southern Illinois? Yes or no, and explain. Now just in case you can't see it, I'll go ahead and circle it for you. That right there is East St. Louis. Go ahead and tell me, is this part of Southern Illinois? All right, now this one is part of Southern Illinois, and the reason is because it is in the shaded area. All right, very good. All right, guys, now for number 10, it says there was some treasure that was buried. You found a treasure map with a clue that will help you narrow your search for the treasure. The clue is x is less than 4. Graph the clue on the treasure map below. So I need you guys to go ahead and graph this clue on this treasure map. Go ahead and do that right now. All right, first of all, this is a dashed line because of the fact that it has no or equal to bar, so it's a dashed line. Okay, so and this line, we're going to go ahead and make an XY chart to figure out where this line is going to be. Now in this XY chart, we know that the x repeats, which is 4, 4, 4. The y can be anything, so I'll put 1, 2, and 3. So here's the point 4, 1. Where's that? 4, 1, 4, 2, and 4, 3. Okay, so now when you draw this, you need to make sure you draw a dashed line because of the fact that we have no or equal to bar. Now since its x is less than 4, we're going to shade the side that's going to be to the left of it. So this is the answer to that. All right, down at the bottom, asks the question, what parts of the map should you start looking? Go ahead and answer that question. All right, because these two parts are in the shaded region, you would look in the mountains or the ice gorge. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and go to the next problem, number 11. Now, for number 11, it says, your friend found a different treasure map with a different clue that will narrow his search for the treasure. The clue is y is greater than 3. Graph the clue on the treasure map below. Go ahead and do that right now. All right, now for this one, we know that it is also going to be a dashed line. The reason is because there is no or equal to bar. And then when we make our XY chart here, this time the Y is going to repeat with threes. The X's, I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3. So let me go ahead and plot these. We have the point 1, 3, 2, 3, and 3, 3. And this is another dashed line because there is no equal to bar. And the fact that it says y is greater than 3, we're going to shade above. Okay. Now at the bottom it says, what parts of the map should your friend start looking? Go ahead and answer that. All right, so your friend should start looking in the mountains, right? Or the sky, okay? All right, finally, number 12, it says you and your friend decide to work together and split the treasure. Based on both clues, which of the 4 sections will the treasure be? Put your answer in the box, and then I also want you to explain why you picked that area. Go ahead and do that right now. All right, area that it would be in would be the mountains, right? And the reason is because the mountains was right. The mountains was true to both clues. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good one.